Hi there, welcome to some DIY. My name's Ben. What is the Raspberry 500 and what can it do? Watch this video to find out. Okay, so I've had all different kinds of Raspberry Pis over the year, from kind of the Raspberry Pi Zero to the A+, Model A+, all of them throughout Raspberry Pi. I've got other ones in magic mirrors that I've created from different projects and try to use it with the kids to show them how to do things. With education, learning Python, stuff like that, being kind of the main purpose of it. The most recent thing I've done is Home Assistant. So I've installed Home Assistant on a Raspberry Pi. I have done a video on that actually, a video series, which I'll link to up here somewhere, where we installed Home Assistant onto a Raspberry Pi and did other bits and bats with it. So the Raspberry Pi, small computer, powerful in terms of different projects, flexibility, stuff like that. And obviously over the years, more and more hardware's come out. Now there was a previous model to this one, which was the Raspberry Pi 400 with a keyboard format with the Raspberry Pi built in. I didn't get that one, skipped it, but I've gone for this, the Raspberry Pi 500. Basically, a keyboard with a Raspberry Pi 5 built in, with all the processing power, etc. The incremental updates that are built into the Raspberry Pi 5 built into this. You've got the keyboard, obviously then you've got ports on the back of it, kind of an all-in-one development tool. Now Raspberry Pi do a screen as well. I've not gone for that screen. I'm going to try and use my own mobile monitor that I've got. The mobile monitor I've got is this. It's the Azopa. So it's a mobile monitor. It's USB-C powered. You can use USB-C input, HDMI input, all kinds of stuff going on there. You see the different connections on the side. So I'm going to try and hook up this monitor to the Raspberry Pi 500 and see what we can do. So first up, we'll unbox the Raspberry Pi 500, see what it's like, see what the build quality is like, check out the ports on the back, stuff like that, and then we'll get it connected up and see what we can actually do. Okay, so first up, do an unboxing, see what we get inside the box, check it out. So simple sleeve, open things up, and you've got a bright white keyboard there. I'm UK based, so I've got a UK layout, and that is it. That's everything in the box. So we don't even get a power connection, nothing whatsoever. So there's the keyboard. In terms of the quality of the keyboard, I would say it's not a premium build, as in the plastics aren't premium compared to like a Logitech keyboard, for example. It's not there, but typing, not so sure either, but it's kind of not built for that. Obviously, we've got all the ports built into the back of here. We've got the GPIO ports behind this rubber sleeve here, which I assume comes off. Got two micro HDMI ports, one power connection. We've got an SD card in there, so I assume it comes with the Raspberry Pi OS built in and ready to go. Two USB 3 ports by the looks of it, and one USB 2 port. We've got an Ethernet connection, and that's about everything. I think that's a Kensington lock maybe there. On the bottom, got 4 rubber pads just built onto the bottom there, so if that stops it kind of pushing away or rubbing away, and it does actually work there. In terms of the keyboard, standard layout keyboard, UK layout anyway. 3 light indicators at the top up there. So what I'll try and do, I'm not sure if this will work, but I'm going to try and use this, which is a 20,000 milliamp 60 watt capable battery pack. So I've powered laptops with this, charged up all kinds of stuff with this, so this may work. So hopefully it'll work. So I've got a USB-C cable here that's capable of doing that power. So what I'll do is I'll plug it into the actual power pack. I'm going to plug it in to the power connection on the keyboard, and we have power. So it has come on, so that's one good sign. Now what I need to try and do now is actually connect up the actual keyboard. So this keyboard is from Azopa. I will link below in the description to it. Fairly cheap keyboard. It's not touchscreen, but I use it quite a lot for connecting up to laptops, basically as a second screen. And that works perfectly because you can output from the laptop just using a USB-C port directly to this for both power and video. You can get audio through it, but the speakers are a little bit tinny on this particular monitor. There's tons of these now. They were quite rare, not rare, but kind of there weren't many of them previously. But there seems to be quite a lot of these out now, and so different kind of. So there's loads of choices. I think you can get them touchscreen as well, but obviously come more of a premium. Okay, so I've been looking and I've had to dig around for some cables basically. So the power pack at the moment is powering the Raspberry Pi, so I've got that plugged into the Raspberry Pi just in the back of here basically. So that's in there. I've also got a second cable going into the monitor, so into this to power it. This power pack is currently powering both at the moment. So in the back of the actual Raspberry Pi I've got an adapter here which is micro HDMI to standard HDMI. That's just an adapter. I've used that bit on other Raspberry Pis as well, so that comes separately. You can buy that from multiple places, All of this stuff I will link to below in the description. So it's dual HDMI output by the looks of it. So I'll just connect it into one of them. So I'm connected into the back of there. And then obviously depending on your monitor. So this, I've got a HDMI cable, which goes into this adapter, which then plugs into my monitor. So this particular connection is a mini HDMI connection rather than micro, and that will plug hopefully into my monitor. So it's now into the monitor. Okay, so currently not getting a signal. I'm not sure if I'm getting the correct power supply from this into the Raspberry Pi. Okay, so we're up and powered. So what I've done is one of the proper power supplies that I've used on previous Raspberry Pis just there. So I plugged that in, now into the actual Raspberry Pi. The power is still coming from there into the monitor, but the actual power for this is actually in from this plug. Hopefully you can see from the overhead camera, we're now powered up, ready to go. So what I need to do now is just plug in my USB mouse. So I can plug that into the back of the keyboard, and we can go ahead with the setup. Okay, so we've got an old Apple mouse just plugged into their USB mouse, and we're going to just go through the setup process. So as I mentioned previously, it's got the micro SD card that comes in the keyboard itself. So that's obviously got the OS ready to go on there. You can do different stuff, the different custom builds, different builds from like the Home Assistant one, for example. You could probably build straight onto this if you wanted to, but you need to load that onto the SD card ready to build it. So I'm going to just step through the basic stuff now. So we've got United Kingdom, British, English, London time zone. Let's go to next. So from here, just basic setup steps. So again, so first using this keyboard, which is pretty good actually. So we're going to connect to an available Wi-Fi network. So it's got Wi-Fi built into it. So it's connecting to the Wi-Fi now. There is an Ethernet port on the back. Obviously, if you're going to connect it via Ethernet, you can do. But for kind of mobility, ease, for example, you can connect it to Wi-Fi. So we use a Chromium built-in browser. It won't enable Raspberry Pi Connect for now. And just for the speed of the video, we'll just skip the updates for the now. I am on quite a slow internet connection here as well, so that may take forever. Things are configured, ready to go. So let's restart the Raspberry Pi now and see what happens. Okay, hopefully you can see there, we've got the Raspberry Pi desktop straight into that, no problems whatsoever. Let's just check things out. Let's just jump into the Chromium browser. So if you've used Raspberry Pis before, obviously nowadays, last 2 or 3 years or so, things are so much quicker, so much better in terms of the speed, usability, even as a desktop, really, really good. Before, years ago, it was really slow, clunky. The setup process were a little bit more difficult, a bit more manual. Now things are kind of a bit more automated and easier to do, so it's easier to get going. So if we jump over to YouTube, for example, jump into YouTube, let's check out a channel I know called Houston DIY. So we've got a video there that we've done on the Ryobi cordless blower, but on the channel as well. So we've done a video before of Home Assistant installed on a Raspberry Pi, so that's the video there. So in that video I stepped through the setup process of getting Home Assistant started, and you could do exactly the same on this in theory. So there we go, basic installation done, up and running, really, really good, simple enough. Obviously, got as always with the Raspberry Pis, you've got to make sure you've got the right power supply. I was maybe being a little bit hopeful, or maybe naive a little bit that were going to work. I don't know why it didn't work, because I think it should work, to be fair. I'm wondering whether it can't power both of them at the same time in terms of the battery pack that I've got, but I think it should be well capable. Well, not capable. But anyway, done for now. Let me just break off, have a bit of a tidy up, and then we'll come back. Okay, so basic setup, all done and dusted there. Got things connected, got things working. That was the first video of this mini-series. So we'll do a mini-series on the Raspberry Pi 500, see what else we can do with it, see what else we can work out. So first impressions, in terms of setup, obviously power, very similar to all the other Raspberry Pis. You've got to be really careful with the power supply, making sure you've got the right power supply onto that Raspberry Pi board. I think there is another option here, I just don't know what it is yet. I need to mess around with my battery packs. I do have a couple of different battery packs. I'm thinking it's because of the power supply type that it's not going to work, but I will look into that, see what we can do, because it feels like this could be a real mobile solution. You've got the keyboard and Raspberry Pi, you've got the portable screen, and all you need is a mouse with you as well, and you've got kind of a portable computer on the go basically. So a few pros and cons, obviously from a pro perspective, in terms of Raspberry Pi OS now, much more simple to install and get going with once it's on that SD card. Things used to be much more clunkier, slower, much more hard work, but it's much, much better nowadays. That's not just with the Raspberry Pi 500, that's with all the Raspberry Pis. That's much, much better. The device itself, really cool concept, obviously with the previous model. This is just a new one of it, but the actual concept of it, keyboard, etc., built into this, really, really good. Makes it a much simpler and kind of more flexible, fluid solution for you to get going with Raspberry Pi. Again, on that flexibility front, another pro, you obviously got tons of different options on there. What I guess it coming to the cons a little bit, we're still on micro USB. Previous Raspberry Pis had different ports on there. Now we're on micro, which is fine if you've got the adapter, but you can also get micro to mini HDMI cables and micro to full HDMI cables. So depending on your requirement, obviously, you can get a different cable. That's fine. One of the other cons, I know you can get the different bundles, different sets with this, but it just did come with a keyboard, not without the power supply. I know you can get the bundle where you get the power supply with it, but it is a shame really that for the money you don't get everything bundled in. Obviously, there's the further bundle where you get the screen as well. So they do an accompanying screen for this that you can connect in. That's the first ever, as far as I'm aware, fully functioning proper in terms of monitor. Obviously, you can get displays, test displays for the Raspberry Pi, but this is a monitor you can buy. But I guess if you've got an existing monitor, like a main monitor that's on your desk or a portable monitor like this one, then obviously you don't need to purchase that one. Very similar concept. So that's it, some rough pros and cons there. Obviously, I'll look into this a little bit more, do some future videos, and we'll come up with some other pros and cons. But for now, first impressions, really, really good. Exactly what I expected. Got things going. Much simpler and easier than previous Raspberry Pis, but really, really good, really impressed. Nice quality build. Overall, a really great product. Okay, hopefully you've enjoyed the video, or it's at least been informative if you're looking at the Raspberry Pi 500. If you've liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up though. Please give it a like. If not for any reason, give it a thumbs down, give it a dislike. Any questions about the Raspberry Pi 500, about the screen, about my setup, anything whatsoever, drop that in the comment section. I will reply to all questions and comments. And if you want to follow the Houston DIY channel for more product reviews, tech reviews, home DIY projects, giveaways, and much, much more, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.